All right, we're going to solve all the Texans' problems. We're going to build a contender, or we're going to hike the leg. Let's catch up with a great friend and legend, John McClain, on draft week.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do.
It is officially draft week. We're 3 weeks and 2 days away from the draft. Maybe 3 weeks and 3 if you're the Houston Texans, because they don't have a first-round pick. And we got a special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, the king of Houston, John McClain, joining me. John, I have not seen that nice antique chest in a long, long time. I have not talked to you about this type of stuff in a while. We still text back and forth, but it's good to talk to you, and it's good to be talking about an optimistic offseason, I would say. I think in our time talking, we go back to the Watson, but it's been a while since, draft month. There's been like somewhat of a feeling of stability.
Feeling of stability, yeah, that's a great way to put it, Landry, because I think people trust what Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans have done in free agency. They want to trust them in the draft. Bill O'Brien had traded his first round pick for 2 and people be blasting him, but they feel better about where the Texans are, know what their needs are, and those are deep positions. So I think trust is a big deal right now, even though their schedule is brutal. 5 division champions, 11 games against teams with winning records, and a murderer's row of quarterbacks. That's why they're beefing up their defense. And I believe in the draft, they will continue to beef up their defense.
So you think they might still lean defense in the draft? Because I've been begging for offensive weapons. I feel like they need a little bit more on offense. You think they're going to lean defense?
I think they're going to lean defense. I think first pick will be a defensive tackle. I think their next pick will either be a corner. And if you think about it, Landry, they need corners worse than anything. They don't have another starter. Jeffrey Okudah, he's been a bust. C.J. Henderson has been a bust. You can't count on those guys. You can't count on Derek Stingley Jr. staying healthy for the first time. And so you got to get a corner in the second round, I believe, whether it's defensive tackle, a corner, and in the third round, a wide receiver. I wrote a column last week on HoustonTexans.com, where I'm writing now. Have another one going in the morning. And I laid out 3 players I would like to see them get. And I did have them taking a receiver in the second round just because I love everything I've read, seen, and talked to people about Malachi Corley, who fits everything that Bobby Slowick had with Deebo Samuel. And I compared Samuel coming out of South Carolina and Corley coming out of Western Kentucky. And it's amazing. The only difference is Corley's a monster when it comes to benching. I think 225 pounds 27 times, which is more than a lot of linemen. So if they had a shot for him in the second round and they took a corner in the third, that's fine with me. But I do believe this, Landry. They're going to end up with 2 corners, a safety, and a running back somewhere in there after they get that defensive tackle.
Yeah, that's a Senior Bowl guy. They kind of tend to like the Senior Bowl guys. So I was talking about this the other day, and John McClain joining us. When I call for the calls, if y'all want to get in, you can, but this is not a just hear yourself talk. Y'all got to expand the conversation. Y'all know I'm pretty nitpicky on that. So the link will be up there when we call for it. If you want to get in, you can get in, but just bring some sort of fire. John's time is valuable. Or is it 7? No, I'm just kidding. So I wanted to ask you this because I was talking about this when you said it, and I kind of brought it up, but I'll admit I like telling you that I'm right whenever we have like a disagreement, but in this case, I don't know whether I was right or whether you were right, because before the offseason, you said, and if you're trying to get in here, be sure in the private chat to say what you want to talk about, and we'll decide if we go to you or not. I see some people trying to get through. But you said that Nick Caserio's approach was going to be similar and he wasn't going to spend big money. And I said, like the smartass that I am, and probably a little bit of a smartass way, I said, how would this offseason have anything to do with the previous ones? And then they signed Daniil Hunter. And on one hand, you say, okay, that was $24 million, but it was also a 2-year deal. So I don't know whether you were right or whether I was right or whether we're both right.
No, you're right, because he spent big bucks for the first time. And they give Alshire a 3-year deal. So he is doing that now because he knows the team is where he wanted them to be. And I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender next season. I feel like it'll be more like 2025 before they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. But you were right. Nick Caserio had the money. He spent
he kept it 2 years, though. So he kept his philosophy, you know?
He did while they were rebuilding. And then when they hit the jackpot, which they did with D'Amico and last season with Stroud and Anderson and other players who emerged, he did what a lot of people predicted that he would do, including you.
Yeah, and but getting it on a 2-year, I'll meet you in the middle and
doesn't matter how many years. It's the money. He paid big bucks for the first time.
Did you think that was what were you? How surprised were you by the Hunter deal?
I was surprised by it just because it was the big bucks. I'm glad he did it. They needed a pass rusher, Daniil Hunter, Randy Mueller, the former NFL general manager with Miami, New Orleans. Randy does the athletic, writes for him, and he had his 150 list of the top guys, and he had Daniil Hunter number 1. And I think something that was interesting that Stephen Holder, the athletic, wrote about Indianapolis. They offered him more money. He came here. Well, of course, he's from here, but he was at the Cleveland playoff game, and that was the loudest. The stadium was totally full that I've seen it since the 2019 Buffalo playoff victory, and that made an impression on him. Chance to come home, no state income tax, and play for his hometown team. I thought it was great. I really like what they've done defensively on free agency, but they still got to keep that influx of young talent going. But if you think about Hunter, and Jonathan Grenard has been hurt every year he's in the league. And I hope he stays healthy for the first time at Minnesota and gets 20 sacks. But Hunter is a better pass rusher. When he's not missed a full season, he's played in every game. And the thought of him with Will Anderson Jr. going into his second season where he should just blow up, that is a dynamic 1-2 punch if they stay healthy.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing, and we can get into the receivers a little bit later and how we feel about that. There's been the reports that they tried to trade for Keenan Allen. Would you agree that receiver depth is still kind of a serious problem for this squad right now?
Well, they get Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Tank, of course, got hurt. You know, he could get hurt every year. You don't know about his size. It was a freak thing, but people get hurt, so you need depth. I don't know after last season when John Mechie III was healthy after battling leukemia and a torn ACL, if he's ever going to be what they thought he would be when they traded back into the second round. Robert Woods, and I'm surprised he's still around, but yes, they need another receiver. There's veteran receivers out there. I'm kind of surprised they brought back Noah Brown with so many receivers like him available. But at least when they're healthy with Collins and Dell and Schultz at tight end, but they still need somebody else. And that's why I think if they don't use a 2, they'll use a 3. And I still think they'll sign a veteran.
Well, Tank Dell and Nico Collins, both third-round picks. My concern has been that those guys, they kind of get hurt. Nico's missed 13 games, and Tank, one year sample size, but I think they missed a combined, 11 games last year, and that's not counting the Jets game where Nico left after the first drive and the Falcons game where Tank made a hell of a catch, but he landed on his head, and he had to leave the game as well. So I'm a little bit concerned about the wide receivers.
I agree with you, because if you're going to throw the ball as much as they will with Stroud, you got to have talent at receiver and you got to have depth at receiver because of the injury factor. I think with Joe Mixon, and I do think they'll draft it back probably in a low round, somebody that ran the zone scheme at his college, and they'll bring him in because they'll want 3, because who knows if Dameon Pierce is going to be able to figure it out in his second year in the scheme. But I think they want to run the ball more than they did last year. And I thought Singletary, for what they gave up for him and the money, and I'm glad he got his deal with the Giants, but he was dependable. He never lost a fumble. He didn't even fumble. He's been healthy every year in the league. Mixon has been durable as well. So I think they'll run the ball better, maybe more. But yes, they need at least 1 or 2 more receivers, and especially one's not at the end of his career.
Yeah. I mean, they need. I think they need offensive weaponry. It's kind of starting to become my theme that I beat to death. If you want to get in, just say what you want to talk about, and we'll see if we want to get into that. I think Jeffrey wanted to talk about. He's here. I think he wants to talk about Caserio perhaps making more trades. I'm actually really intrigued to hear this. If we were still doing leg hiking, this would be one of my first things. So Jeff, just make sure you're not muted. Get right to it. Go ahead, my friend.
All right. Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, just making sure y'all can hear me. I've been thinking about this off and on, and I don't think there's going to be any kind of a trade into like even the early or mid first round. I was going to say, even if there is a trade in the first round, I would see it probably being late. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, appreciate you for coming through, Jeff. If you want to get in, just be sure to say what you want to say and get to it. Would it be weird to you if Nick Caserio trades his number, I guess you can look at it where if he trades the first and the third, he can look at it as like some sort of third, second pick swap or something like that. But would it not be weird to you if they like someone enough to where they're going to trade back into the first?
Wouldn't be surprising at all, considering how much he's traded back up. We know he's going to make trades. He has 8 picks, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth. If it got to a player, say around 25 or 26, that D'Amico just had to have, and they gotten word that somebody else was going to get that guy, then yeah, I could see him trading his 2, maybe a 4, maybe a pick next year to get back in to get a player D'Amico wants, and I would guess it would be a defensive tackle or a cornerback.
Yeah, I just, man, the corner situation is interesting though. I don't know how cocky they feel that their evaluation is, but you're taking on all these busts, and it's like, I mean, if they were competing for like the number 3 or 4 corner spot, I can see it. But right now, you're basically asking them. I mean, I make fun of him a little bit, but you're basically asking them to replace Steven Nelson, which I think we can agree, regardless of the tomfoolery last year, they don't get to where they did without Steven Nelson.
Absolutely. They got the most out of Nelson in his career these 2 seasons. Said a lot about Caserio, the way Nelson insulted him on social media in his blue vest, which I haven't seen him in since. And Nelson's still out there. I think that maybe they're not going to re-sign him. They could have already. The thing about free agency, there's a lot of veterans out there. And as soon as their ego can take the fact, I'm not going to get $5 million a year or $3-4 million. I'm going to have to take 1.5 on a 1-year make it deal with a lot of incentives. And the Texans can say, look at Sheldon Rankins. Sheldon Rankins came here and he got a $4 million a year raise after 1 good season. That can be you. Whether it's Jeffrey Okudah, 3rd overall pick in the draft, CJ Henderson, 9th overall. You got both of them. Both of them have been busts. Okudah because of injuries, but you want them to have 1 good season and they can cash in somewhere, whether it's in Houston or another city, the way Rankins did. They tried to keep Rankins. They offered him a couple million a raise, but he couldn't pass up $4 million a raise a year. But he's a great example of what you do if you get in a system that is ideal for your talent and you play your ass off and play well, you will be rewarded.
And I think you bring up an excellent point. And I brought this up a couple weeks ago is, they developed Cashman to where he was out of their range. Like they turned Cashman and Grenard. I mean, I won't say Grenard because he hasn't been anywhere else. But you can say the same about Singletary. Like Singletary came here and Singletary balled his ass off, and he went and got a deal that I don't think any one of us envisioned him getting either.
Well, the problem with Cashman, had he come back, somebody was going to sit, and it wasn't going to be Aziz Al-Shahir, who was with D'Amico in San Francisco. And D'Amico won him last year, but Rand Carthon, who was in his first year as general manager of the Titans, he was with Al-Shahir as well with the 49ers. He got him to come there, led them in tackles, played really well, got a 3-year deal from the Texans. So he's going to play. And we know Christian Harris is going to play because he played really well over the second half, and they don't play 3 linebackers, but about 30% of the time. So therefore, you can't pay Cashman a lot of money considering how little he's going to play, barring an injury. So I think that worked out well. And somewhere in there, they will draft a young linebacker who D'Amico thinks fits the system that he runs. One of the things I like, Landry, about D'Amico is he is position specific. It's not just a defensive tackle. It's a right and a left defensive tackle. Whatever Sheldon Rankins did, D'Amico had to have it because he thought he fit what he wanted. And Nick Caserio made it happen, which he tries to do on everybody D'Amico wants as long as the finances are within reason. And so that's what he has when they're looking for another defensive tackle. He can't just be a really talented player. He's got to be a tackle who fits what D'Amico wants. That's why I'm so fascinated about these tackles that could be available in the second round, starting with Andre Sweat at UT, because he doesn't look like a D'Amico tackle. He looks like a nose tackle, which he could do, but he also can be a 4-3 tackle to collapse the pocket. If he weighed 340, he'd be a first-round pick. But everybody's scared of a guy who weighs that much, that his weight's going to be an issue. He can't hold up. But I think that that's a great spot to tell agents, look, we've proved you come here, play well, you're going to get paid by us or someone else.
We got McClain in here. Be sure if we go to you to have the volume down. Jacob, appreciate you, my friend. He asked, what happens first? Texans sign or trade for a solid wide receiver, or they extend Nico Collins? You think that's what they're up to with the Titus Howard thing? They're going to extend Nico Collins? Is that where we're going with
I think
this?
they're going to extend him if they wait and he has another great season, and he probably will. Stroud ought to be even better next season, and he's the go-to guy as long as he stays healthy, and it would cost a lot more money. You know, they see Nico behind the scenes in ways that we don't. His practice habits, his study habits.
We've seen it. It's there for sure.
What he does in the meeting rooms, what he does in the locker room, and so they like him a lot, and he's a great example. If you play hard for us, and if you play well for us, and you're a good team guy, you're going to get extended. And you're going to get a whole lot of money. So he sets an example for players on his team to try to replicate what he did. And the key, of course, is you better stay healthy.
Jake Asman, friend, he just moved back to New York. By the way, we're gonna have breakfast at Avalon this month, but he's asking because I introduced him to it because of you, John. What is the go-to order at the Ambassador?
Well, the Ambassador, Jake, where I've been eating since 1984, and I've only had three dishes. Crazy chicken, garlic shrimp, and then the other one, the beef and broccoli. But the egg rolls are the best I have ever had. And every once in a while, I'll sneak by there right when they open. I'll go in and sit at a table on the side, and Fernando will come over, and he knows I want egg rolls to start off. Oh, sometimes I'll just eat the egg rolls. They are magnificent.
Yeah, I saw them the other day. Man, they screwed me because I don't live by there anymore, and they close it. They're closing it like 2 now, so it's like I'm driving back to the burbs, and I can't go to the Ambassador, man.
Well, if you leave the station and you can get over there by 2:15, I'll make sure they stay open for you.
They'll hook me up. Let's go to Brandon real quick. Brandon, what's up? You're on with John McClain, Landry Locker in the locker room.
Hey, what's up, John? How you doing?
Great, Brandon. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. So I was going to ask, man, I thought maybe linebacker would be a little bit more of an importance, right? So if Cooper or maybe Wilson falls, maybe we might grab one of them guys.
No way. As I just explained, they're only going to play 2, most of the time, so you can't have an expensive third linebacker. And yes,
You don't think so?
I'd love to see him get Edgerrin Cooper, but who are you going to set? You're not going to set Azeez Al-Shaair, who they just gave a 3-year contract, and you're not going to set Christian Harris. And most of the time, you're going to be playing a fifth defensive back. So that third linebacker, I do not see coming with a high draft choice or somebody costing any money.
All right, so appreciate you for coming through, Brandon. My man Brandon was getting that heater in the garage. I don't think I didn't see you going to get that heater. He was getting that cigarette right there. Be safe, my friend. But yeah, the premium linebacker, I guess, maybe on day 2, we could see that. That'll be interesting to see as well. Like the linebacker, I think they got their guy in Shaair. It seems like that's kind of the guy that they're obsessed with.
They better get a safety. Right now,
Oh,
they've
really?
got Jalen Petrie, who's
Mhm.
coming, who played better at the end of last year once he started to figure it out.
After he
Jimmy
got
Ward's
benched.
hurt every year. Then you got MJ Stewart and Eric Murray back. And last year, those second, third, and fourth safeties were out, and you were finishing with guys signed off the street after the season began somewhere. And I'm thinking in the 4th round, they're going to be drafting the safety.
Yeah, I wonder about the safety, man, because they love Jalen Petrie. I know Nick Caserio, even when he was struggling, said if we had 50 Jalen Petries, we would be fine.
Well, that's
Something
because
like that.
Nick loves those Baylor players because he knows they're the smartest.
Okay. That's that's not true. What would you say is the best offseason move so far? Is it Hunter?
It's got to be Hunter because there's so much emphasis placed on pass rush, and plus he plays the run. Jonathan Gennard played the run really well. About 3/4 through the season, I noticed on Next Gen Stats or Pro Football Focus that Anderson and Gennard as a duo did the best job in the NFL against the run, which is one reason they went from 32nd to 6th. And if it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor, they would have been 3rd. And that kind of dramatic improvement has got to start with setting the edge, and they did a great job. And Danielle Hunter has done that as well. I'll tell you a weird deal that I still can't figure out. Malik Collins started every game while he was here, and they traded him to the 49ers for a 7th-round pick. That one caught me totally off guard. Seldom do you see a team make as much improvement as the Texans did in their defensive line. Set their all-time sack record, and 3 of the starters are gone.
Yeah, I didn't. I kind of tried to read between the lines. I don't feel like D'Amico liked him as much as we thought. I can't. You kept hearing him talk about upgrading the D line. Sometimes guys spin a little bit too much or whatever. But I the way that he's talked about these other guys that they've brought in and all these bodies, I almost feel like there might be like some sort of deeper thought process with why D'Amico might not like Malik as much as we would think that he did, or some
There's
people.
got to be something deeper because on the surface, David Culley loved him. Lovie Smith loved him. They talked about him all the time. Didn't hear D'Amico.
Got an extension. He got an extension at minicamp when D'Amico saw him.
Yep, talk about him unless he was asked specifically. But to give a guy away for a 7th-round pick who's been very dependable, coming off what was a really good season for the defensive line, very strange. And if you ask them, they will say we make moves based on what we think are in the best interest of the Houston Texans.
Okay, yeah, we didn't go Bill O'Brien making best moves in the interest of the team, capital TEAM. We didn't go there. What's it like with the writing for the Texans, man? Are they is it a pretty smooth process or what?
I'm not writing columns. I'm writing features. I have one that's going to be posted on Wednesday. I picked the best 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th-round pick in franchise history, plus the best free agent. And the first one was the hardest because it was the 1st round, and it was between Andre Johnson and J.J. Watt. And to break the tie, I said, well, only one is in the Hall of Fame, so I'm saying it's him. 4 years from now, Watt will be able to say the same thing. So I write it. Adam Cann does a great job of editing. They run the headline. They run the story the way I send it in. I think I've written about 10. They play them up really well. So people ask me, well, what are you doing since you got laid off by 6'10"? And I said, well, I'm doing every Monday And Friday on KRIV with Nate Griffin, I do a hit at 8:22. I do a weekly video with Mattress Mac. We post on our social media platforms about what's going on in Houston. And I'm still doing Texans radio on 610 on Thursday nights from 6 to 7. And then I'm writing 2 or 3 stories a week. And then I still do my weekly shows in Waco, Austin, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Knoxville, and 2 in Nashville.
This, man. Look at this. You're going to be in Ohio for Andre, right?
I don't know. I might and I might not. You know,
why wouldn't you?
Well, because number one, I'll be paying for it. But number two,
Texans. Come on, man. Cal in hand.
No, I would never take any money from the Texans. I would never take money from them. I am can't be taking money from them. Like, I don't get paid for this. I won't let them pay me because I can't take money from them and then come on here with you and rip them.
Rip them, yeah. Well, they're not right now. They're not.
They're not rippable. Now, if we're talking about the Astros, they'd be rippable.
Yeah, but, ain't that something?
I'll probably do it because it's such a monumental moment for the franchise. But
you have to.
One of the things I've learned, they throw a big party, and the party is what's going to be fun. The McNairs will pick up the tab. It'll be under a big tent on the premises of the Hall of Fame, and those parties are always spectacular.
But you also, I mean, you were on the part of the reason that he got in, so you got to go.
I presented him to the committee.
Yeah, so you got to go because last time, pulling back the curtain, we've talked about this on In the Loop. I think this was before you lost weight. You hurt your shoulder before the Robert Brazil, right? Yeah, you fell down.
I was there for Brazil. I've been there for everybody that I've presented, starting with Elvin Bethea, Robert Brazil, Curly Cup, Warren Moon, Bruce Matthews, Mike Munchak, Chuck Alley, and now Andre Johnson.
Okay. Yeah, I just, you got to be there for Andre, man. It's big, man. It's the first one too. You got to go, my friend. You have to. They got to pay. They got to give you that bread, man. It looks like we got someone on the clock, man. This is Mr. Clean 465, man. Where are you working, man? Where gonna get you fired?
Working in Kentucky at Amazon right now. Checking out my favorite team.
Look at that. We're all over the place, John. This is not just Houston.
Well, hey, man, Houston born though, for sure.
There you go.
But I just wanted to know, John and Landry, how do you guys feel about Sweat versus Fisk? I know we have a couple of 300-pound guys on the line as it is now. Was Sweat, being the higher weighted guy, going to be a better, mix-up kind of player on the line, or is Fisk going to be right where D'Amico kind of likes it?
That's a tough one right there.
They're totally different players. Fisk 292. Strictly gets up the field fast, impressed everybody at the combine with speed, quickness over 10 yards and 20 yards. I don't think he's going to be there when they make their first pick. Those guys that play like that, Sweat may be gone because
I think both of them might be gone. I think there's a very good chance.
Because there's such a premium placed on guys that can get to the quarterback the shortest distance, which the tackles used to is all about the ends, and the tackles were supposed to tie people up. And both those guys one can get around it. The other one can go through it. But the defensive lineman that 49ers had is a blueprint the Texans follow. All their picks, all their resources went to the defensive line. In the Super Bowl, they didn't have a linebacker or defensive back drafted higher than the 3rd round. But they developed some great ones like Fred Warner, and who's maybe the best in the NFL right now, and Trey Greenlaw got hurt. So I think they will go after a defensive tackle. Maybe Caserio will say, you know what, I got to have Sweat or I got to have Fiske. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trade my 2 and I'm going to trade at 3 or one of my 4s, try to get back in or pick next year to get just the tackle who D'Amico wants.
Do you like Caserio? Since you've covered him, you like him all right? You think is he fun to cover? Is he
fun to cover? No, he's not fun to cover. They're fun to watch when they're winning. Nick's I don't have a relationship with Nick. I never have. He told me the first day I talked to him after his initial Zoom call, and I got him for about 5 minutes, talked to him for a feature I was doing on him, and he told me he didn't believe on having off-the-record relationships with the media, so I only talked to him.
Kind of feels like that's changed this offseason. I'm just saying, and maybe perhaps maybe perhaps that's kind of changed because it does kind of feel like he's a little close to some of the national now.
Well, I told him, he said, I don't talk to the media off the record. He said, I don't talk to the media. And I said, well, Albert Breer keeps writing and saying you're texting him. He said, I won't do it anymore. And I never saw anything that made me think he was talking to him. And so as far as liking him, I like him fine. I just don't have a relationship with him. One of the things I like, you can write anything you want about it. You can rip him up one side and down the other.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't say a word. You can praise him. He doesn't say a word.
That's the thing that I like about him is that, and I guess your experience with OB was probably a little bit different, but OB has his cool moments, but he's kind of a little bit of a jackass. Like if you say something, like he cares, but Caserio really he legitimately doesn't care. Like he'll say some of the stuff that I've said on the radio, but he's not. It really doesn't bother him. But OB and stuff, it kind of did.
Bill, I liked O'Brien. He'd get mad at me, something you read. He would call me up, cussing me out up one side, down the other, slam down the phone. And that he might call back or wail the next day and apologize. And near the end of his career, though, he never called back. He was just mad all the time. But at least I could talk to him off the record because he trusted me. And I've had a relationship with every head coach and every general manager except since Nick came and put the coitus on it, people not talking to anybody in the media. But you know what? As long as they're winning, that's all that matters. And it's like the uniform. I don't give a rat's ass about the uniforms unless they're winning.
By the way,
they're winning.
You snitched, by the way, because you said that you saw the uniforms very shortly after you saw the uniforms. And I was like, John, you dirty dog, because we can't say anything about it. So now people know that it was seen.
Oh, I told Greg Grissom he had no problem with it. I said, I'm going to go on there and tweet immediately. I've seen them, and I think they're spectacular, and fans are going to love them. And that's what I've been doing on shows all over.
Did you think they were spectacular?
Truthfully, one of them, the one that it was all, and so I liked it a lot.
Jerk.
And there was another one that I remember it had stripes, and I liked it too. But now, really, when I'm thinking about it, I can't even remember it. I've loved their original colors of red, white, and blue that Bob McNair chose. And I like what they've done with the new ones. And I think we'll all like it more if they win. Like last season, uniforms looked great. Previous 3 seasons, they stunk.
What'd you think of this guy right here when he walked out?
I was trying to see, is he a kicker? What is he?
That was the model. The league model guy.
One of the things I liked about, they had the dummies. He was not a dummy, of course, but they had the big current uniforms, 4 of them. And then they had the big new ones. And the
mannequins, it looked better on the mannequins than it did the models.
And we could walk behind them. We could look at them on the side. And I felt like an inspector. And so I can't wait till they're unveiled on the 23rd. It's going to be a big deal because fans and media care so much about uniforms.
Did you see my customized shirt? I honored the biggest star of the offseason. Look at this right here. Number 24 league model.
That's great.
That's my new
model. How much did it cost you to put that on there?
Probably, I think it was like $30 at Fanatics or something like that. $30. I'm not going to buy the real jersey. That's for damn sure. Marcus asked, who will be wide receiver and running back 2 week 1? Man, it's someone that he's not on the roster right now, I don't believe. So I would bet that the answer to that will probably change. I think there's a lot of possibilities there.
There are a lot of possibilities, but he said week 1. So I'm going to say Damian Pierce will be the backup to Joe Mixon. There'll be a young guy behind him and a wide receiver. When they play 3, I guess the third one's going to be Noah Brown or Robert Woods or somebody they sign as a veteran or a young guy who does like Tank Dell and just explodes into the NFL.
Are the Texans ready to contend? I don't know what the deal is, but is it possible that they're setting everyone up for failure? Because I've never seen a situation where the national media has nothing bad to say. The other day I was watching Good Morning Football and Peter Schrager was like, man, I'd like to play counter, but it seems like the Texans are ready to contend. Like, are they Are they ready? You said 2025. Are the national media, have they gone from understandably low on the Texans? I think anything you've said about the Texans the last 3 years, you can say whatever the hell you want, and it would have been true, especially if it's negative. But have we kind of gone from one extreme to the other now where maybe they're too high?
Considering the schedule, absolutely. The over-under on victories in Vegas is 9.5. And if you think about, they were really good. They were exciting. They made so much improvement. That was against a terrible schedule. Now they got to play Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, everybody in the AFC South. 11 games against teams that had winning records and 5 division champions. That is tough. And because of those quarterbacks and those offenses, one reason they've been loading up on defense and free agency, and think they still will on offense. It's like they think that Stroud is going to be even better in his second season.
Yeah.
And so he's going to carry a lot of the load and make up for a lot of the ills. Well, they got to stop those quarterbacks, and they've got to do it fast, because I'm guessing they're going to be in probably 4 nationally televised games. I'm hoping that they play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. That would be fabulous.
You want that?
They want to expose Stroud as much as possible, because he's almost like Mahomes is America's quarterback, but he's like the younger America's quarterback. Everybody loves CJ Stroud.
You're scaring me, man. It's a big pedestal you're putting him on. You're scaring me.
I'm saying that they'll be a legitimate Super Bowl contender in 2025, and in 2024 they'll be a contender for the AFC South. Remember what happened to Jacksonville? Cost me $100 with you. You said Jacksonville of the field. I said Jacksonville without a doubt. One of the best bets you've ever made. And so I just think with the schedule and the teams they play, it's going to be a whole lot tougher than it was last year. And they're not going to catch anybody off guard. And defenses have a lot of time to study Nico Collins and Tank Dell. And they know a lot about Joe Mixon. And then the line. You know, they started 11 different offensive linemen.
Worried about the line, John.
Injuries. We should always be worried.
I'm worried about the line. Even healthy, I'm worried about the line, sir.
So we're talking about things that, need another receiver, need another running back, need something done up
tight
front.
End, maybe.
Tight end, need a defensive tackle, cornerback, linebacker, and a safety. Other than that, they're fine.
They're fine. See, this is why you come in here. So we've already taken a trip to Kentucky. We got Luke watching in Australia. And then we got Hanny and Rob from California. So get on YouTube. You got all kinds of folks out there. I'm not gonna lie though, you are terrifying me with the CJ Stroud thing though, because I'm not gonna sit here and say he's gonna fall off or anything like that, but man, like it's a lot of pressure. And when you say, well, they're relying on him to bail him out and make him better, I'm not saying they're doing like an Andrew Luck, but I feel like there is like a Randy Galloway used to always say, back when he covered the Cowboys, they just expect Tony Romo to save all butts. And I've kind of adopted it because I don't want to have because I think the Colts had it, and I don't want CJ Stroud to have to save all butts.
No, if you think about what he did last year with a running back who didn't have 900 yards, and with the supposed running back didn't do squat, with an offensive line that was decimated by injuries and started 11, and Tank Dell going down for half the year. And maybe they have those same injuries, and he was a rookie. He gets great coaching. Getting Slowick and Gerard Johnson back for one more season meant so much to this franchise, and I think he will be better. Unless they're decimated by injuries, I think we will see even more improvement out of him. I think he'll end up somewhere about 30 touchdowns and maybe 8, 9, 10 interceptions. Okay. They'll run the ball more. Hopefully that'll help the defense. And up front, they better get a lot of pressure, because right now they're going to need people to cover besides Derek Stingley Jr.
What do you think the worst move of the offseason was? If Hunter was the best, what was the worst? Whether it's letting someone go, whether it's not signing someone, what do you think the worst move?
I wanted to see Sheldon Rankins come back, because he was so good against the run, and he had career high 6 sacks, not a career high, but he had 6. And I don't blame him for leaving, because he had so much he got so much money, $4 million a year raise. He had to do that. And I'm trying to think of who else left. I thought they were going to bring back Singletary the way that D'Amico talked about Motor and Caserio talked about Motor. And I was surprised when they traded for Mixon, considering all of his off the field issues. And that one caught me off guard. But I think he'll make the running game better, and he's also a good receiver. So I think that upgraded the offense.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I think Pendergast was saying he was surprised that even mattered with the mix. And I've moved on. He seems like he's kind of doing his thing, although there was the recent stuff that went down. But I felt okay about Mixon. What about the tight ends? Schultz, obviously, they brought him back. Brevin Jordan doesn't really block, and Tegan Quintariano can't stay on the field. Do they need Nick Caserio? I thought it was interesting, John. This was something that maybe you would have caught when he was on with Sean and Seth. He mentioned like day 2 value, and he mentioned like 4 tight ends. So I do wonder if they could surprise us, and with where they're at, we think Bowers goes round 1. Now you and I have another $100 bet where going top 10 or whatever, but I think Bowers goes round 1, and then they might have a crack at the tight end they like most if they want to surprise people and go in that direction.
If they're going to get a tight end, it's going to be on third day. They're not going to spend money on a tight end in the first 3 rounds because they got too many other needs. Basically, would they take a backup tight end over a third wide receiver? I think they would take the wide receiver in a heartbeat. And Stroud really liked working with Dalton Schultz from everything I've heard over there, and they knew there was a reason to bring him back, and Schultz wasn't trying to be the highest paid or anything else. I think that was a really good move for the franchise. But if you're going to get a tight end, Brevin Jordan's almost like a big receiver. There's a receiver coming out this year, I forget his name, he's 6'6". People are talking about, does he need to be moved to tight end just because he's 6'6"? And maybe Brevin needs to play a little more wide receiver, put him in the slot, line him up wide, because every once in a while he makes a huge play like he did. Was it Cleveland that he made the big one? Or Indianapolis? I can't even remember the long touchdown. But I think they will draft another one, and it's just not a good year for tight ends like it was last year when it was great.
It was elite. Socrates 4 checking in from Columbus, Ohio. Appreciate you. This is fake news right here. Houston Keller says, I don't like Brevin Jordan. I just say he can't block. He can't block. I love Brevin Jordan. Enjoy talking to him every time I do. Great dude. I don't think he can block. And I mean, he's been a running back majority of his life. That's probably why he can make those plays.
Brevin's never going to be on the line of scrimmage having to move somebody off. That's not what he does, and that's not how they use him.
Stutes says you're talking about Johnny Wilson, and Cody Stutes is hot taking and saying Johnny Wilson stinks. So Cody Stutes coming in hot.
Good. Cody always comes in hot.
He's coming in hot. Yeah, because he's sweating. Just kidding, Cody. It's my boy right there. So you would say the worst move was letting Rankins leave?
Rankins, but you understand it when it's a $4 million a year raise. There's no way they're going to pay that kind of money for a player. Caserio has a budget on guys, and he may go over it a little bit if D'Amico really says we got to have that player. But usually, the guy's gone. And moves I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see if Dameon Pierce, after a year, can figure out the zone scheme and how to run it. If he can't, they might as well get rid of him. And
he seems to have the right attitude about it, though, where he actually talked about how great last year was for a learning experience and stuff. So he does. It's not like, and I like him, but it's not like Deontay Foreman where you kind of get defeated once you get in the doghouse. It does feel like he has the right mindset about it.
After the Titans season, I was reading about Derrick Henry, and he said his biggest regret was not figuring out the zone scheme quicker than he did. It took him longer than he thought it would. So maybe Dameon Pierce will come back for the offseason program and all of a sudden have it all figured out. But I still think they're going to look for another running back to bring in for a low pick, somebody who's done that. Like in 2009, Arian Foster rushed for like 500-something yards his last year at Tennessee, and Rick Smith had a scout that told him, I think this guy fits what Kubiak likes doing with the running game and the zone scheme. So they sign him. He's bouncing around the practice squad, covering kicks, gets to start 2 games at the end of the year, looks real good. Next year he rushes for 1,600 yards because he fit the scheme. And I'm pretty sure now that Caserio and the personnel people know exactly what Bobby Slowick's looking for, it'll be easier to locate them.
What do you what was it like Rick Smith? He was cool, right?
Yeah, I thought Rick did a better job with first-round picks than anybody in the league. Now, they had a lot of mistakes in a lot of rounds, but when it came to his first-rounder, Dwayne Brown is still playing. Dwayne's 38 years old.
Ain't that
in
something?
his 17th season, and he's trying to play again. His contract with the Jets is up. He's hoping to re-sign with them or somewhere else, and that was his second number 1 pick, and he traded down, got him at number 26. So, getting Hopkins where they got Hopkins, Rick did a great job, and Kubiak was very involved in that as well. And they did a really good job in those early rounds.
Yeah, and that kept him around. That was kind of his calling card. Good old Rick Smith. Pour one out for good old Rick Smith. He's not dead, but he's kind of gone. So are you do you think the Texans are going to have a draft party? Like what are they going to do?
I don't know. It's weird. Now, I can't remember. What did they do in 20 and 21 when the number 1 picks were gone? And they're not waiting till draft to unveil uniforms. That's going to be on the 23rd. So I don't know what they've got planned. But, boy, once he traded out of the first round, they were having to do some scrambling.
Did you think that Cal handled the adjustment to the league pretty well?
Oh, that was such a formality. Everybody knew about it. I'm glad that the judge ruled in favor of Janice McNair, who is not losing her marbles. I talked to her before home games. I talked to her at training camp, and she's in a wheelchair. And yes, she had a stroke, but she can hear, she can talk. She takes notes. She's got her roster. I talked to her before the Cleveland playoff game, talked to her the one before that. And I know that what she had to go through was terrible for her.
Yeah.
And I hope now she's so much better off. That weight has been lifted off her shoulders.
I was talking about that with Lopez. I was actually just talking about the way that Cal leaked the uniform, but if we want to go here, we can go here. I was talking to Lopez about it, and Lopez said something like, what a great, result for Janice McNair because she won the ruling. And I was like, brother, I guess, but like the amount of stress that you endure in your 80s going through something like that, and the fact that it's never going to be righted, like it's not, I guess it's a win because it's not as bad as it could be, but that's enough to that is like, that's a lot to go through. Family drama at that age, especially when it's something like that.
This has been going on since Bob died. This didn't just pop up this year. This has been going on for years. And when I talked to her before that Cleveland playoff game, I didn't say anything specifically about it. I said, I'm so sorry you have to go through this. And she touched my arm. She said, it's killing me.
I know. I mean, that's tough, man. And I guess now that the process and he's the minority owner, that kind of puts that a little bit in the rear view because I'm assuming that now you can't really just take it away from him. I think they're in good hands, right?
Well, it seemed to be, but anybody can sue anybody anytime they want and hope they get a favorable judge or a favorable jury. But I think we've seen the last of Kerry McNair and his bid to take the franchise away from his mother. And they never said they wanted to sell it, but of course they wanted to sell it. What else were they going to do? Bad timing. When this all started, it was back when Easterby's heyday. But now, of course, everything is going so well, the timing just looked awful. But right now, everything is hunky-dory as far as I can see.
What's your boy Easterby up to? I saw that he's Texas A&M. That's
hugging the Aggie basketball players. I heard a couple of years ago, he and Buzz Williams were real tight from somewhere in their past. And so I
greatest champion. It was that Ponzi scheme. Charity that Easterby had where I think him and Buzz Williams became buddies there.
I told a couple of my Aggie friends, I said, you watch, Jack Easterby's going to end up working for the A&M basketball team.
Yes. And there he is. That was a wild time. We've talked about Easterby many a times. Not the best guy, to say the very least. So you think that you think that Hannah's going to start talking even more now? I think Hannah's going to start to be the trash talk face of the Texans.
Nah, she's not going to be doing any trash talking. She's too smart for that. One of the things I like
She
about
talked trash about Amy Adams and the Titans.
What'd she say?
Just about the broom, the sweep, and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that didn't get any national attention, did it?
Oh, no, nothing like that. Yeah.
Yeah, until I think Hannah and Cal, they talked to the media at the league meetings in Orlando. I think that was very smart. They've done a really good job at PR. And one of the reasons when Hannah got more involved when her last child started going to school, I guess it was kindergarten, and she had more time to come over and work. And Cal, I did a story for Gallery Sports, and then last year I did a story for sportsradio610.com. I sat down with the two of them in their office and did columns about him. And one thing I like about Cal, he wants Hannah to be involved. He welcomes her input.
I think he needs her. I think
he's not one of these guys that says, "Hey, stay in the background." And
yeah.
she's very, very sharp. And so I think they go good together. If Cal wants to do something, I think she will tell him what she thinks from all angles. And if he still wants to do it, he'll do it. But he listens to her. And as we all know, we're those of us who are married, we know we better listen to our wives.
I also think Cal's just kind of, and I don't know how he did it, but I mean, I think he's overly kind, and I don't think he has like. Maybe he does in a different way, but like Jerry Jones, thick skin. He really doesn't care if what you say about him on any level. Cal kind of handles it a little bit better. I'm sure behind the scenes it sucks, but I think that Hannah's like the perfect counter. She's a little more social, and she kind of like won't let his kindness be a weakness. It's kind of like more of an endearing thing. I actually enjoy watching them as a duo.
I did too. And Cal told me 20 years ago, because back then we could watch all of practice. The media could. And after practice, Bob and Cal would be on the golf cart, Bob driving, and they would meet at midfield with the coach and the GM. And then they'd come over and talk to the media. And Bob would answer questions. And I used to tell Cal, I hope you're paying attention because your dad does the best job with media of anybody I've ever seen. And he said, Dad prefers to do that. I prefer to be behind the scenes.
Okay.
That's the way he still is. You know, when he has to talk or make a speech, he certainly do it, but he's more comfortable being behind the scenes. And I think Hannah is just as comfortable being out front, behind the scenes, wherever she's needed.
Yeah, she's got a little bit of Bob in her, and when it comes to work in a room a little bit, I would say a little bit.
Yeah.
Tad, maybe just a little. What about D'Amico? How have you liked covering D'Amico from player to now?
I think it's great. Nobody had any idea he was going to be as good a coach as he was and get out of the team what he has. And it's amazing when you think of where this team was last year. They needed a quarterback. They needed an edge rusher. They had a lot of needs. They needed a wide receiver. And you had a first-year coach who'd been a coordinator for 2 years, so you didn't know what he was going to do. And then where they are now, my God, it's like somebody came in with a magic wand and waved it over the franchise for everything they'd gone through with O'Brien and Easterby and Watson and everything else and Kerry McNair. And all of a sudden, you know, it's like somebody waved that wand and it's a totally different picture where people love to come to work. They're on the same page. Everybody's fired up. And of course, as are the fans, the ticket buyers. And I can't wait for the off-season program.
Do you I know you love to do this. Do you think that if let's say we were still in the Easterby like 2021-ish type of vibe, do you think you would, I mean, what would you still be wanting to like talk about this squad with the Texans.com and everything?
No, if Easterby was there, no. But thank goodness he's not. And I think Hannah's the one that figured him out the soonest. And so now he's where he needs to be. He's an Aggie working with Aggie basketball program. And the Texans are where they need to be.
I think that me and Lopez helped a little bit. They won't, I mean, I know Hannah listens a little bit. I think we kind of helped a little bit.
They listen, they know what's going on, they know what's said.
Yeah. The good old the dinner that you refused to go to.
Yeah, they were sure listening when y'all complained that I wouldn't getting asked the first question on the Zoom calls because
he
used to be told PR, quit calling on McClain first.
Which was weird. That was
weird.
That was a weird, like,
all of them called me and told me and apologized. I said, I don't care. I never asked to be the first one.
Cared.
And they said, well, you're the what they said was you're the most experienced. I said, well, I'm the oldest. And then Cal heard you and John talking about it, and he asked one of the PR people, and he said, yeah, we don't call on him because Jack told us not to. And Cal said, well, why we do that? Well, I don't know. Well, call on him.
I just remember when we went to that dinner and he started BSing it, and then it just turned into like a hour roast.
And I got to say something that you did. I wasn't there, and I wouldn't have gone if I was invited. And when he wanted you there, I think he thought he could win you over.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So at the dinner, and what I was told, and you and I've talked about this, and we've talked about it on the air, when Jack was saying none of the negative stuff about him it was not attributed to anybody. It was all made up. And what did you point out?
I said that Andre called him out. I said that Andre called him out. And then he said that Andre he said that he tried to teach Andre how to be a GM. And I was like, dude, you really think with all his resources, he would want you to be a GM? I was like, look at everything you've done. I was like, no one wants to learn GM from you.
Well, he doesn't know anything about a GM.
Well, he said that he was really focused. He got the equipment manager fired because he was really trying to hammer home pants, like that they didn't have the right pants on when they got their ass whipped by Green Bay. And that was like the make fun of line of all lines where I was just like, pants, dude, really? Like that's
the first thing I thought about when they lost that game, man.
Man, if they would have had those pants.
When we went in the locker room, everybody said, if we just had better pants.
Yeah, not that DeAndre Hopkins was traded and all that. It was all about the pants. So what else we got? We got a few more minutes. Do you are you still hitting Astros games at all? Have you been to any games? I haven't.
Yeah,
I was
on third row behind the Astros dugout on Saturday. Thought I'd bring them some good luck. I did not. And because I do a video every Wednesday every Monday at Gallery Furniture with Mattress Mac, and he's always offering his tickets. And every once in a while, I take him up on it. Needless to say, Mattress Mac has great tickets.
Yeah, I would probably think that would be the case. What about the March Madness? Can anyone beat UConn?
I don't think anybody can beat UConn in the men, but I go back to NC State. Nobody could beat University of Houston's Slamma Jamma, and they did. And there have been other upsets, but UConn is fantastic. Spent 6 days in Vegas watching on the first 2 rounds, betting, actually made some money. And then truthfully, Landry, I'm more interested in the women than the men. I've watched.
Well, you've been on that bandwagon for a while.
Well, I have, because of Kim Mulkey and Baylor. For the longest time, it's all Baylor had to win with. And but I've been fascinated by Caitlin Clark, so I've watched a lot of her games, and I thought it'd be great.
I think they might lose their next one. I haven't even been watching the women's. I just been.
Judy Watkins, the great freshman from USC, I thought it'd been great if they'd have been able to play Iowa and Caitlin Clark, because Watkins is the next big thing. Like Caitlin Clark, she's an incredible player, but they just had the biggest rating of any women's game in history. They beat everything in the World Series except the decisive game. They beat the NBA. They beat everybody, and I can't wait to see what they do on Sunday night.
The problem, I don't know if it'll be as highly rated, and I'm not a women's basketball guy, but I just, you know how I am. I'm petty, so I'll latch on to something and root against it. I'm rooting against South Carolina, man, because that girl said nobody thought we would be here. This is y'all's fourth.
Everybody picked them to win the championship.
So I will officially root against South Carolina because one of their players seemed like a nice girl. She said nobody gave us a chance, and I'm just like, all right, I'm rooting against you now.
I hate it when they got to have chip on their shoulders and they think things like that. I don't think they really could think it. I mean, they've been number 1 all year. Everybody expect them to win. They're unbeaten.
They're awesome. I guess, John, I appreciate you, man. We do this a lot. Need to not be a stranger on it. It's something that the new boss let me do. So the old boss wouldn't, but I get to do my own thing. It's not associated with 610. So we just chop it up and
just let me know anytime. I'm available.
Okay. Well,
always like coming on with you. People ask me what person at 6'10" was the best to you after you got laid off. And I said, Landry Locker. A lot of people have asked me that and they go, really? Landry? I said,
they always say
Landry.
They're always like, you and John, y'all hate each other. I'm like, no, we just argue. We just talk. We're just talking sports. We're arguing. They're like, what were y'all? They're in the break. Like it's forgotten. It's all fun. I can't just come in there and just lay it on a tee. I got to keep John on his toes. That's how we do it.
Well, you let me know anytime you want me on the locker room. I'll be honored to come in.
Hey, I'll hold you to that.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, John.
All
Thank you very
take
much.
Care, Landry.
All right, there you go. It's John McClain here in the locker room, Sports Radio 610. Buddy of mine now. He's in the locker room, man. My guy. Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. I might hold John to like weekly guest type stuff. He's going to do that. There was a time where McClain was on all the time. And now, and I kind of joke about this. It was like when I first went to 610, McClain's on 2 hours on every show. I'm like, man, this is a lot of McClain. Now there might not be enough. So we might just be switching up the game right now on these fools. Appreciate y'all for coming through. It's draft week. Our draft month, I should say. We're 3 months and a few days away. It's only going to get more fun, and I greatly appreciate everyone for coming through. We're going to keep this going. The quiet time is over. It's time to speed stuff up. Let's get it. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texans stuff, we're all in it together. God bless y'all. Have a good night. Holla.
It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.